I'm going to jump in with the teacher side of things. I think just for our purposes here, we're going to stick to the mobile side of things, but everything that you can do on for the teacher right now on the mobile app, you can do on the web as well. And Tim's going to have some more information later on if you want to book an actual demo or try it out. So you have on the home screen, you have like just a little bit of info on your studio and a little bit of info on your students. On the next tab over, you're going to have a list of all of your students that you have. Next tab over, you'll have your library. So here you have assignments. So, so many teachers, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you're using Piano Adventures or whatever kind of method, maybe some of your materials that they might use with their students, these all have like some teaching points that we want. So you can go ahead in there and you can put in, like the assignment, like the notes that you want the student to practice or remember. And then you can add attachments to that assignment. So an attachment can be a link to a YouTube link of a great pianist like Tim playing a piece for you. An image or video would access your camera reel. If I did that right now, we would just see hundreds of pictures of my nephew. So I'll do that every yeah, WhatsApp imports right to my I need to stop that. So audio file, like some backing tracks, if you have students that improvise along or play, great for voice teachers. A document, of course, would be like a PDF of like some sheet music. In your camera, you could just kind of click on that and make some real-time videos for your student. That's one that I tend to do a lot, like just real quick in the lesson to make a demo video for a student. And then you can also kind of grab something from your library, from the file side of your library. So again, the library, you have assignments, which is like notes that that you want the student to practice, and then you can add attachments to that. And then the other side of your library would be your files. So again, same types. You can have video, audio, you can have images, you can have documents and links, and there's always like a way to search for these things to find them for your student.
So if you upload an attachment to an assignment, does it become a file?
It becomes a file. It automatically saves here. So you don't have to double. That's a great question. And the reason we did that is because if you're in a lesson with a student, I think there's two types of teachers that use this. There's which is really gross generalization, of course, but like there's some people that spend time outside of the lesson and they might upload stuff. For me, I don't have a ton of time, but I love my students and I want to give them everything I've got when they're here with me. So we did, and Chris is similar. So we did build this in a way that you can kind of gets everything streamlined, right? So you don't have to go and save it to the file, and then you can, everything just saves for you, Yeah. So on the student side, you're going to be able to click on your student. I'm going to go here with Elsa. She's my go-to for my demos because she's quite the practicer. So I can see all of her practices here that she's done. If I clicked in there, I could see like what she did and didn't do. You can see any notes that she might have put. If students have uploaded video of them practicing, you could see it here. That's one thing that we definitely want to do a lot of work on in the future is how the teacher side of things interacts with student video, because I feel like that's a really powerful side, especially with asynchronous learning and things like that, of just being able to send some notes.
Where you could timestamp and stop a video of a student and go, just record a response or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. There was an app called Cadenza that actually that did that very well. We got a ton of users from them, and that was one thing that a lot of people have talked about wanting. So it's definitely on our radar. And so on the details side, you can see like some info, like Elsa's on an 84-day streak. So she's practiced every day for 84 days in a row. Mm-hmm. Chris is going to show you some of how that stuff works in a little bit, how these gems and points work. And you can see that, she practiced 7 times in the past week, just a little bit of stuff. I think when all is well is good, it's less valuable when you see like, gosh, you did 1 practice this week, 10 minutes, let's have a talk, So the next step would be like how you send content to your student. So I'm going to go ahead on here. I'm trying to think of people kind of listen to audio. So I'm clicking here on Chris Mallett's profile. He's my new student. He's sitting right next to me. So if I click plus here, you know, you can create, you'll be able to create a lesson from scratch or copy over the last lesson.
And
so
a lesson is a series of instructions for him to do for his practice?
That's a fantastic question. A lesson is a collection of assignments that you want them to practice, right?
Okay. Yep.
Obviously, of course, the lesson is really what like you and the student meeting one-on-one. So I'll go to my sample student just to show you how this works. Since, you know, as teachers, I know that most people meet with their student from 1 week to the next. So there's no point in like scheduling out all the assignments in the future. It's like, let's just do this week, and then I'll check in with you next week. And then when you click plus, you can create a new lesson from scratch. In my experience, that's not something that happens very often with the students. Like, good job this week. Let's restart all like fresh, all new pieces, you know? So often you'll just copy over the last lesson. That will auto-populate what you all worked on last week, and then you can edit it from there. So
I see. Okay.
If you want to, like, Wave is a great bossa nova by Joe Beam. Say you don't like it anymore, we can just remove that from what you're supposed to practice. Say you need to practice that before you do Packington's Pound. No problem, we can drag Packington's Pound down there for you.
I see. So this is listed on the screen in order that the student you would
like
them to do it.
We'll see it, so we can remove it, we can reorder it, we can edit the details. You know, like, wow, you know, I mean, just for sake of time, I'll just keep it simple. And they improve their speed, we'll go up to 90 beats per minute, you know, and then we can have some attachments of me doing it at 90 beats per minute.
Okay, and you can easily, that's where you can click the plus button and record on your camera.
Any of this stuff
here's what to do.
Right in there. Yeah, and like, hey, you know what? Last week I just did this video for another kid. I can just click on my library and add it right in there, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, a lot of teachers that we've talked to are similar to us, probably similar to you. It's like a good teacher has, right, a kind of a method that they follow, a kind of, and you don't want to get too stuck in that, right? Because you can personalize things to a student's needs, their interests and whatnot. But at the same time, it's like when we're hiring and interviewing teachers at the school, it's like I don't use any methods, I just make it up. It's like, it's just, is that a lack of awareness of what's out there? Is that just that, you know, I don't know. How do you feel about that, Tim? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think all teachers have a structure that they follow with their lesson. Yeah. So, and I really encourage teachers to, you know, to break things up, have time for creativity, let's say, have time for technique, sight reading, have time for the pieces, repertoire pieces, and trying to manage that can always be a challenge, particularly in 30 minutes. But I'm finding that, most teachers will have a structure, a format that they use. They'll do a certain thing at the start, they'll spend most time on something else, and they'll finish with something. So I agree, there is always that structure, and to be able to simplify that into this assignment process, the building of the assignment, I think is really important. I also think it's really clever that with one click you can copy last week's in and then adjust it and change it and then add to it. So for example, on the screen now, and for people who are listening still, A major scale was one of the ones from last week, and Chris just changed it to, Robert just changed it to A major scale, same scale but faster, or maybe it's right hand now or left hand, or hands together slowly, that kind of thing. So I think that's a great way to simplify the process, because I have had that struggle with some other apps before. It's like, oh, do I have to rebuild this all for this week? How do I get them all in?
You want to quick and easy, right? That's the key thing, is with, I think with most technology, right? It's like it's supposed to help solve problems, not be a burden. I mean, that's right.
And for the most part, what we do in 1 week, we'll be checking the next week.
Right.
So that makes sense. And then we'll add and subtract a little bit and we'll move on again.
Yeah, that's great. That's what's so hard about music lessons in general, is that it's like it's self-learning. You're guiding someone on a self-learning path. So and you know, however we can use technology to help solve that problem is crucial too, because so like in the app, just sending someone home with some videos of you doing it or recordings of you doing it or notes, which obviously the notes you can do on a piece of paper, right? But you can't copy that from student to student. But the videos and all these things, I mean, that really gives just such an advantage to students. They can like click and see a professional do it the way, and that can just be on YouTube too. That doesn't have to be like the teacher showing.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is pretty easy to edit and then and restructure on the go, and then you click publish and that gets sent to the student account. For Chris's purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just make him a quick lesson so he can do his side of things well. So I will create this from scratch. And I'll just create an assignment from, well, you know what? I can just take one from my library. I can go in there and go Adantino book 2, and then I'll just also make a new one for us. I'll say, we're on with Tim. And hey, check out the podcast soon. And then I'll go and we can do a quick video of me and Tim here hanging out. There he is. And just a quick one. And then that gets uploaded, vid with Tim. And then, the great thing about this is that I can also just save this to my library. So the next
there's a little checkbox at the bottom. That's great.
Yeah, next time I'm with you on a demo, I can just go save that to my library. And then that's going to be in there forever. And then when I publish that, that will get sent to Chris's side of things.
Great. And we're going to have a look at the student side in a second, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I mean, that's pretty much the teacher side in a nutshell. I think there are some things like on the website that you can do administratively a little more easier, like inviting students to the platform. Everybody gets a unique studio code. So as long as when they download the app, they have your studio code, they'll get linked directly into your studio. And then also administering, if you want to set up like in-person rewards, like Chris had mentioned, that's on the website. But there's great walkthroughs and materials on there for them. So
we've now opened the student side of things, right?
Yeah. So when you open it up, the audience can't see, but it's geared towards students of all ages. We have an avatar here. Students can change their avatars and they can use their gems to purchase them in the practice space shop. We update the avatars and backgrounds for different holidays and seasons, so we're always keeping it fresh for students. On the bottom left, there's a little button that says 5 minutes. The students can set their practice goal here. So it's all the way down from 5 minutes up to 60 minutes. And this is just the amount of time that they work with their teacher to set their daily practice at home. In the bottom here, there's a little green play button. And when they click on that, that will bring them into their actual practice session. So when they go home, they'll open this up. They'll see any notes that their teacher has put in there for them.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Tim. That's one thing I didn't say. In the teacher side, you can also there's a place to just put general notes that maybe aren't correlated with a specific task or assignment, but it's like
more general.
More general.
Recital next week.
Recital next week. Clip your nails before you play piano.
I know you've been on school camp. I know you've been away or whatever. Yeah, great.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the type of stuff you put in the notes tab. When they click on the assignments tab, the student will see the assignments that were put in. So here are the assignments that Robert put in on the Tino book 2 and the Tim Topham. When you click on it, they can see the details, and then there's a little attachments tab. And it's very easy. The student can then just click on the attachment, and then the video will pop up of their teacher or whatever attachment they put in there. Sheet music.
COVID beard.
That's going to sound really weird to people listening if they're not watching.
Yeah,
but we've just got a video on screen of Robert with a beard playing his guitar. I like that. The other thing for people listening too, as soon as the student press play, as in I'm going to start my practice, there's a counter at the top which is counting up in time. So we're up to about 1:30 here. And down the bottom, you've got the checklist of the tasks that you've set. And I assume as you've done, if you go back to detail, yeah, that's the page. I assume the student just checks that once they've done that work. Is that right?
So you check it off here on the right, and then you can see that the gem count goes up. It tells you how many assignments that you have left and how many you've checked off. And then each one that you check off, you do earn a gem. So it's really exciting for students to see their gem count go up as they're practicing. Then when they click in the middle here, it says my videos. Students can make videos of themselves for their teachers. I love assigning my students to make videos for me. And as Robert showed earlier in the teacher app, they can go and teacher can view any videos and notes that the student has put in there. And
now, sorry, Chris, would that generally be a video of the student playing the thing that you've asked them to do? Or do you just say, oh, just send me a quick hello when you finished your practice? Or what do you do?
You know, it's really up to the student. I have some students that, you know, if they can, I tell them to do a reflection on their lesson, you know, so it's, or of their practice session. So, you know, go ahead, talk about how your practice was, what you think you need to improve in your practice, things like that.
Okay.
I have other students who actually write direct notes to me, you know, saying that next week, I think I can do this at this tempo, or can you put in, you know, this attachment to the app for me? You know, it's almost like a little bit back and forth of a message type of thing. The students use for the notes.
Yeah, great. So, and what's the past lessons tab?
Yeah, the past lessons tab, since this is a new account and there's only one lesson in here, but it will show all of the previous lessons that the teacher has made from the very beginning of when they started using the app with the student. I love this because there's never excuses anymore of the student saying, I don't remember what you told me last week. You know, they'll have to remember what I told them 6 months ago because it's going to be there somewhere for them.
And this isn't recording audio or anything like that, is it, while they're practicing? Because I know other apps have tried to do that.
Yeah, it's not listening in on the student.
Yeah. It's just the student just uses it as a timer and assignment sheet. And basically, you know, as teachers, it's very easy for us to know when a student comes to their lesson the next week. If I told my student to practice a certain passage 10 times every day, and then they check it off every day and they come back the next week and it doesn't sound any better, then I know that they're not actually doing what I told them. So it's really the honor system, and students tend to adhere to it when they're using practice space. And one more quick thing in the, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, could you go and check off those two things so we can see what happens if you're ready at the end of the lesson? Well, sorry, the end of their practice.
Of course, yeah. So once they check those off and they are done with their practice session, they can hit the stop button here. And then they'll have a couple of options. They have this say practice and resume later. They can go back to practicing. And if they're done practicing, they can hit I'm done practicing. They'll get this little rating system here of 5 stars. They can go 1 to 5 stars. And then this is where they can add in the notes for their teacher. So, you know, they can put in things like need to use the metronome, whatever. They can put that there and they hit done.
Said no student ever.
So will that now ping a message to the teacher that a note has been left or something? Because I can imagine that could get quite busy.
That when you click on their practice for now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
So you can see it, but you won't be getting like every, you know, if you got 20 students and they all practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it would be good to see. So
yeah. And then just 2 more quick things. Here's the student leaderboard. So you click on the little trophy icon, you can see the current student leaderboard. This is our studio. So every teacher who uses it, will be their studio leaderboard. So they can see their current, students' current standing last week's, and then the student can go into the overall leaders and see. So the leaderboard does reset every Sunday at midnight. So it gives all students a chance to get to the top. And then at the top left here, if you click on the gems, this is where the shop is. So there's different avatars. So I'm going to go ahead. We had Valentine's Day yesterday. I'm going to buy a couple of new things here. Some new avatar.
So hang on, just to slow everything down a bit. So this particular test user has got 9,000 gems. Yeah. And so what you're able to now do is go into the shop and the student can give up some of those gems in return for something that they want, right? It's like a currency.
Right, yeah, for their home screen. I mean, they don't start with 9,000. They start with
0.
I think 5.
Is it 5?
I think it starts. Yeah, it's, you gotta throw people a little bone. So.
But you've got the options avatars, you've got backgrounds, power-ups.
Yeah, and the power-up.
So what's a power-up?
we have a streak freezer in here. So if a student say they practiced 200 days in a row, and then they go on a trip and then they forget to practice, if they have the streak freezer in there, and they purchased it, it will automatically activate. It'll ask them, do you want to use your streak freezer to keep your streak? So then they won't lose their.
Wow, like I even like going back to Snapchat, my son was talking about streaks. So did you know, maybe this is just my son's friends. If one of them's going away on a school camp or something like that, they'll give someone else their login so that they can keep their streak going.
Yeah, you got to keep your streak. Streaks are important.
This is going to totally. You just use the word streak. You're gonna teenagers are gonna know what you're talking about. That's clever. That's really clever.
Yeah, and then the one other part we talked about this a little bit earlier. These are the pickup items. So these are physical gifts or physical prizes. So the top here, we have a student can purchase for 35 gems, something from the prize basket. At our school, every teacher can customize it. So then when a student purchases that, we'll get an email that says, you know, so-and-so purchased something from the prize basket, and we get it ready and give it to them. So we tend to update this every so often, you know, things like a CCM, our School to California Conservatory of Music. We have a tote bag in there. It's a little bit more expensive because that's more, you know, money for us, but the student can buy that, some custom sheet music and things like that, you know, just really brings the physical world into. And there's the new background and avatar.
That's the one that you just exchanged for. Now something's just popped up. What was that pop up?
I clicked in the upper right-hand corner. There's that little streak icon.
So that's what the fire icon is. Okay.
This shows you kind of your next streak, and over here, you like students can also see like the awards that they can get. Chris mentioned that one thing that we really love about the app is like kind of connecting the physical with the digital. So, you know, we're able to do that in here with like some of these awards actually have, like they get a certificate. So like the system would actually, you know, and people can set this up or turn it off, obviously, if they don't want to do it. But, you know, it's like, for instance, 100-day challenge we have here, which is a 100-day streak. So they would get a little trophy that I don't have in here, but, you know, if they do 100 days in a row, you know, our admin staff or the teacher, however, however you set it up, will get an email saying like, hey, so-and-so just got this award, you know, make sure that you have that for them. And then there's some other fun things, like some of these things are, shouldn't be it. It's a little bit of a test server, but okay.
So how much of this is set up when a new teacher joins?
All of it. Yeah, it's automatically set up.
It's just there's no physical items because I don't want to presume that someone wants to do that.
Of course.
But the avatars, all the streaks, it's all set up already. And then anybody that wants to change. So originally we had it fully customizable, and I think people actually felt a little overwhelmed. So we kind of started to approach it more like as if it's like a service that we will do for the teachers. As far as like just having this stuff already in there. And then, you know, we're pretty responsive in to like kind of changing things a little bit for people the best that we can. I mean, as far as like adding a streak award or something, there's obviously limitations on, like, it has to be an event in our database. The database does not know that someone performed at the recital.
Sure, yes, I understand. Can you just go to the streaks again?
Sure.
So those...
Or the list.
The list, yeah. How did you get to that? What did you click on?
So I clicked on, so when you're on the home screen, there's you can click on these 4 squares in the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another window here. The student can see all of the practices they've completed. They can see all of the lessons, like Chris mentioned. You know, this one is a new account that we made because we've been testing something, but you know, a student would potentially have like a list of all the lessons they've ever gotten from their teacher. So if they want to review an old piece, but the one you're after is right here with the star.
The star, right. So all of these are all set up and can be used by any teacher.
Automatically set up.
That's really good. So I'm looking at things like 5-day streaks, 1-week streaks, 2-week streaks, all ready to go. In the other one, you had some other challenges, a 50-day challenge, 1 month playing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You know what? This actually reminds me a little bit of Strava. I don't know if you guys are cyclists, but
I know Strava. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a keen cyclist, and
Yeah.
one of the things that it always puts in front of you is, well, do you want to join the the January challenge of ride 100 kilometers in the month, or those kinds of things. So I totally get that.
Yeah, that's the next thing. Like, that's what I mean, that's one thing that we're messing with, is like this idea of like these little August, like practice-a-thons and fun things like that. That would just be automated things that pop up on the student side. Like, hey, practice, what month is it? Or March, it's in March. Practice 20 times in March and you get 5 backgrounds for free to, or like,
yeah,
and this stuff is like, it will just kind of happen within there for the students. Because I think one thing that's really important, again, back to thinking about the student side of things, is the novelty. Is like, right, it's like, if you do a 5-day streak and, then what? Well, 1 week, and then what? But if you don't, so you got to keep kind of things interesting for them. But at the end of the day, it's just about getting them in there and like spending time practicing what the teacher gives them. Like, that's the key piece that this is all built around.
Really like it. Yeah. That was super, super helpful. I have a much better understanding of exactly what you guys are doing. And as we said, we'll share this with everyone so that everyone can have a look at the video too.